Hello and welcome to Intro to Kerbal Space Program. Now this game you may have heard of. It is by far one of the best aerospace and, I don't know about the best necessarily. I don't really spend a whole lot of time playing around with flight simulators and whatnot, but I do enjoy rocketry and ballistics, and I think this does a pretty good job of communicating some of those things around it. And especially the fact that oh, excuse me. That most of the concepts in this game kind of go over my head, but they're still really fun to play with. Fun story, really quick. If you're wondering what a Kerbal is, this is a Kerbal. Or a Kerbalite, Kerbalalian, something or other. So the guy who made this game used to play with rockets as kids a lot, and the story behind what a Kerbal is he used to cut out these little tinfoil caricatures of astronauts and stick them on his rockets when he'd send them up, and he called them Kerbals. So, yeah, there you go. That's a fun backstory fact for you. Now, let me go ahead and explain some of the things here. We've got, like, settings where you can change all of this. Let's look at the input really quick. Oh, hey, you know what? This doesn't look so bad, except there's a tab for everything. So, it is definitely a flight simulator, if anything else. We have rovers, docking UI, staging UI, miscellaneous. Miscellaneous is fairly large, and then there's all these other things. Use staging controls on docking UI. Yeah, it's a little interesting. There's a lot you can do to control it. So, I mean, if you haven't heard about this game, as per usual, thank you for watching my video and hopefully taking some of this stuff to heart and seeing what's going on. So we are going to the moon, or bust. Let's go. We do resume save, start new, training. I would do the training, but the training is actually pretty long and very wordy. So we'll consider this your training. And then we have also scenarios, which I haven't done any really. Asteroid redirect mission, ready to capture. EVA and Kerbal orbit, impending impact, moon orbit, station 1. Yeah, all kinds of fun things that you can do, but really the meat of the game is going to be in here, where we are going to start a new game, and we're going to go for see Decoy, and we have 3 different modes. So we have sandbox, where you could do whatever you want. You just make spaceships all day that make no sense and then go crazy with it. And then we have science mode, where this used to be the old school career mode before they patched in the new career mode, and basically you have to actually work for your spaceship parts. And that basically entails running around and doing research and trying to go to new places and make notes and send back messages to home about how cool it was and that kind of a deal. And then we have career, which is science mode, but also with money. Career mode is a little punishingly difficult. I am not that smart. As much as I like to hopefully cultivate a healthy ego and self-esteem and things like that, career mode is a little bit beyond me. I think you probably have to dump quite a few hours if you don't know anything about rocket science, and I certainly do not. And this is a very scaled down, easy version of rocket science. Career mode is quite a bit of a challenge because you have monetary limits, and it is very easy to go broke, and then all of a sudden your game is over. So, because you can't send people to space, if you can't send people to space, what is the freaking point? So, yeah, we're going to spend our time in science mode for this playthrough, and I don't know how far I'm going to get. I get to a point where I kind of glass ceiling myself into not being able to do a whole lot, and I'm not entirely sure what the format of these videos is going to be, because there are parts of this game that take a really, really long time. And so it might get a little boring. Also, I want to point out that this game is currently unmodded. Well, I mean, it has mods. Oh boy, does it have mods. But I have only modded it with one thing, and that is a mod called Hot Rockets that adds fancy visuals. So this is your command center area. And so for your command center, you have this, which tracks all the objects near you. You can zoom out and see your orbit. Now keep in mind, that was really easy to scale out from planet to solar system view. Everything here is really scaled down just to make it kind of more approachable. That is an asteroid. It is a Class E huge asteroid. We don't have to worry about that, though. That's not going to hurt us or anything. It can by accident, but not in any way that's meaningful to the game. And we have our moon, and we have Minmus, which is another satellite to... Kerbin, which doesn't have its own icon because we're on it, I guess. And then we have all of our other planets that we can go explore. There's Moho way over there. We can switch to looking at Moho, and Moho has no moons. Very lonely Moho. That is, of course, the equivalent of Mercury. We have Eve, the equivalent of Venus. Eve has Gilly as a moon, and that kind of a thing. And then we can go out here. We've got Duna, and then Drez. Drez? What's the deal with Drez? Does Drez have anything fancy with it? Yeah, Drez seems to be just a very large planetoid. Although, I guess maybe I should look at the stats before I start calling names like that. Velocity, altitude, yeah, that's... Joule is the resident Jupiter. Got a ton of moons that we can go explore and get all kinds of interesting data from, and lots of science. So that'll be a future mission, far, far in the future. And then we have Elo, way, way, way out here. And this is, of course, our equivalent of Pluto. And it does look rather icy, doesn't it? So, yeah, that is the scope of our game, is right here. This is all the stuff we want to try to do and figure out and play with, and we want to visit all of these places and get data on them. And of course there's also Kerbal, which is the name of the sun. So and it is, of course, very bright and a star. So God, that's actually kind of hurting my eyes a little bit because it's just a big glaring white spot on my screen right in front of my face. Real smart stuff on my part. Okay, let's get out of this screen. We go up here. I've got like a little recording indicator for XSplit that you can't see, and it's up here. So if I get really confused and can't find buttons that are in the upper right-hand corner, it's because of the stupid indicator. All right, this is our research. So right now, this is all we can build. We need to get 5 science in order to build these things, which are very simple, just fuel tanks and... a mystery goo containment unit, which is used for research, and a stack decoupler, which is used for staging your rockets. Over here we have where we can hire people. They don't require money, so we can just hire everybody. Why the hell not? Look at that. We got all kinds of Kerbals, and of course we have Jebediah Kerbin, who has somewhat a god status in the KSP community there. Edwell seems to be both very courageous and stupid, and as they say, if you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough. If you're going to fall down, you got to get back up. So Bill Kerman, very courageous but extra stupid, and Bob Kerman is, you know, kind of courageous but fairly smart, and that probably is the correct ratio of stupidity to courage there. So let's see, do we have any super brilliant? I don't think these stats actually mean anything right now, except for maybe the way they react to different things. Well, hold on. We'll hold off on this for right now. There's a couple things. I'm not going to be able to show you what's here. Yeah, mission control. Mission control is where you pick up quests, basically, and whenever you do quests, you get money and that kind of a thing. And no save vessels found, so we can't go to the launch pad yet. We can go in here, and this is a space plane hangar. Everything is oriented that way because we'll be making planes in here if we get around to that. We might have to get a mod before that becomes really viable, though. I will be getting mods slowly throughout this game because after seeing some of them, they're not quite as goofy as some of the mods I usually see. And now this is the most important, ostensibly important part of the game, which is your rocket hangar. We're going to build a rocket and go on a couple missions here. So, and let's see, we go up here, woo, woo, and well, we don't really need to go that high. We're not building anything crazy. I'm used to like building these ridiculous multi-stage rockets that are just completely out of control, and yeah, so that was why my inclination was to go very high there. So as you can see on our left here, we've got our parts screen. There's all kinds of things. We can make action groups. These tabs control things like basically, we can set things to specific buttons, numbers specifically, that we can control individually. And then, of course, we have our crew panel, which allows us to set crew since we have a pod here. Somebody's got to pilot the damn thing, at least for now. And, of course, we can load and save spaceships that we make. We can title this one, and this is going to be the let's call this the Uppy Downy because that's basically all it's going to be doing. Nothing too terribly spectacular to start here. And then we have our buttons for launch and exit. And so let's go ahead and build a rocket. We've got this right here, good stuff. We're going to stick an antenna on it so it can send back whatever research we manage to get. And then we can just sort of cycle through that as much as we possibly can. And I'll explain how research works shortly. Let's see, what can we do? What can we do? We are very, very limited. We definitely need a parachute for the trip back. And then for propulsion, we're going to, we might need more than one parachute, I'm thinking. Yeah, we've got our command pod, and then basically all we need to do is... Yes. Okay, I think I know how I want to build this. Alright, let's try some fuel tanks, like so. And then we're going to do some solid fuel boosters, like so. Actually, what we're going to do is we have a handy-dandy symmetry tool here, and we're going to add 4 down a little bit lower. Well, we want them to be lower than where our engine is. So let's go ahead and we'll attach these. Oh, that's not going to work, is it? It's not going to let me do it. It's not going to let me. Nope. Alright. What I'm trying to accomplish here is... yeah, that's not going to happen either. Propulsion. You know, let's just do it like this. I am going to make just a very simple single-stage rocket. Until we can get decouplers going, that's pretty much the best idea. So, and just to explain some of the stats you're going to be seeing over and over, and we'll mention... once again, I have a very rudimentary sort of idea of what's going on here, and I am not a rocket scientist. So, if you look over, we have the mass, which is very important for doing things like getting out of the atmosphere. Yes, they also have drag, which is important while you're in the atmosphere because the air will slow you down. Crash tolerance, how fast we can go before the thing just ends up exploding anyways, and max temperature before it explodes, that kind of a deal. Very simple stuff. And then we have thrust, and thrust is, of course, all important in this game. It's going to be what gets us out into space. Now, we have a little bit more data here to play with. We've got the thrust again, and the engine ISP, which is specific impulse. Now, my understanding is specific impulse is a measure of efficiency, and what it actually is how many seconds this rocket can burn a kilogram of fuel at 1 solid newton of thrust. So if it has 225, it would take 225 seconds. I think. I don't necessarily know. It would take 225 seconds, and this is ASL and vacuum. So yeah, these are all peak values that they could possibly get. This is basically it would take 225 seconds for 1 kilogram of fuel to be burned at just 1 newton. So since we are creating 250 newtons a second here, yes, it will be burning through 433 fuel. So that lines up. Maybe not quite right, but again, I'm not entirely sure. That might not be the actual seconds part. There's a couple different ways you can denote ISP and actually make more sense than whatever I could possibly provide right here. But maybe the math works out. I don't know. I don't quite have the gumption to want to sit down and write it out, but I just trust in it intrinsically and kind of feel these things out. So, and that's also the amount of fuel. As we burn fuel, it will get lighter. Same thing over here. What's the ISP here? Liquefied fuel, flame out under 10%. Flame out is something I haven't really encountered or had to deal with, and that's maybe a little alien to me. So the ISP on this rocket is actually better than the ISP on our solid fuel booster. So the ISP is 225. On this one, it's closer to 320, 370. So this might actually work out fairly well for our purposes. So we've only got one stage here. We're going to add another one where we actually fire the rockets, and then the parachute will come later on the way back down. So let's go ahead and launch this little rocket we have here and see what happens. So here we go. We are on the launch pad. It is balanced precariously upon the launch pad. You can see the launch center over there. And then all we have to do is hit spacebar, and there we go. We have launched. We're going to throttle up there. Throttle is right over here. Let's explain some of these things that are going on the screen while we're here. We have our nav ball, which is incredibly important for figuring out exactly what direction we're going in. We've got throttle over here, which I can control via the control and shift keys. This is our G's. This is how many G's we're pulling at any one point in time. This can have some implications. Fortunately, we don't really have to worry about Kerbals dying unless we get a particular mod that would control such a thing. You can see we're kind of tilting slowly to the east, and it's definitely translating visually, but we can kind of correct that a little bit. Now we do have RCS and SAS, which are going to help us keep stable, so I'm going to go ahead and leave SAS on because power is not really a concern right now since we're burning fuel and we have an alternator inside this engine that's going to keep us up on power. We do want to kind of level out a little bit here. Our fuel is over halfway gone. Our altitude is at 11 kilometers. Everything's in metric system, so if you can't handle that, then don't worry about it. I don't know if a board works. I've tried a board, and it doesn't seem to really do much. This is our atmosphere meter. This shows us basically how thin the atmosphere is where we are. So right now we have less atmospheric resistance. We're getting better efficiency with our fuel, so we're going faster and faster. And yeah, we are now going to go to map mode and see how high we're going to get. We're going to get pretty dang high. I'm totally okay with that. That's good stuff. So, yeah, we want to kind of... let's point out over land so I can get a land sample. Oh, wait, that's not the land we want to point out to. And we are out of fuel. So our Uppy Downy is going to live up to its name. And we're basically going to fly out into space and then return fairly promptly into the water, which maybe is not a bad idea considering all we have is a single parachute to keep us from dying. So, we are now in space. Our atmosphere is null, and we are 88, 89, 90 kilometers up in space. And here we are. Isn't it beautiful? Look at that. We got a galaxy over there. We got a little smaller galaxies over in the distance. Galaxies are fairly close in this game. We can see the moon from here. We could probably see our house if there was anything other than basically very, very simple texturing of the ground here. But yeah, so it was just that easy. Right there. There you go. We have liftoff, and we are continuing to lift off for quite some time. So what we can do is actually time warp. And then this will get us way up there. We can watch our speed decelerate slowly but surely, and then pick up acceleration again. As you'll notice on our nav ball here, we can kind of turn around. The one with the X means we are headed away from that direction, and then we can turn around and point at this particular icon, and that is the direction we are headed, which is, as the brown would indicate, the ground. So there's a couple things we need to do very quickly. We need to make a crew report. Rename crew report. There we go. We'll send that back for 5 science. That's going to absolutely get us our first upgrade on things. And then we can do EVA, which is extravehicular something or other. EVA report. And then we will keep data. And then, let's see, store experiments. Just added all items stored. So now we can get another one. I don't think this is actually going to allow us to store more than that. Yeah, okay, so we're going to go ahead and board again, and then try to, let's see, review stored data. Let's transmit that. Starting transmission. Warning, not enough electrical... No, dang, okay. Above Highland, added. Warning, not enough electrical charge. What are we at? We have some monopropellant, and that's about it. So, and I don't think we can actually use that to fuel our engines. Is that going to work? That is not going to work. Okay, so monopropellant is used for the RCS, which is those little gas tubes that you see shooting out all the time in the videos of space launches and whatnot that kind of correct things in space. So, but, you know, this is totally fine. We're going to keep that data. We've got our EVA. We're going to wait until we get a little bit lower. Let's see. Can we close this, please? Can we close this, please? Okay. Well, maybe. We appear to have deployed our parachute. It's a little early for that, but that's fine. I don't know how to get rid of this thing. Go away. Okay. But yeah, so now we are re-entering the atmosphere, which is pretty normal. Let's go ahead and we are going to EVA one more time and see if we can get a report just above Kerbal shores. Yes. Okay, so we're going to keep that data board. And that got rid of our box for us, so we're happy. And yeah, we're going to re-enter the atmosphere. Hopefully we don't crash, but if we crash, that's completely normal. This is Kerbal Space Program, master of crashing. And yeah, so we'll see how that all turns out here in a second, I'm certain. Okay, so we are re-entering the atmosphere. As you can see, we are getting closer and closer. We are going to start going in for re-entry here. Look at them go. We are burning up just a little bit. Fortunately, not an issue because re-entry is not hard-coded into the basic game to be a real threat. Our parachute is going to add a little bit of extra drag as we continue to wobble here, and that is also fine. We are bleeding out speed as we enter the thicker part of the atmosphere. We are 4.5 kilometers up and descending 3.5, and there we go, 3, slowing down even more. And our parachute will deploy here in about 2 kilometers. And then, any second now, wait for it, almost there. And we finally deploy parachute. And it's going to get painfully slow, so I will... Well, now, you know, hold on. I've forgotten how to speed up. There we go. Time warp times 2. Time warp times 3. You have to be careful whenever you're in atmosphere, because the time warp actually messes with the physics a little bit, and can cause some problems, so to speak. So, yeah, and there we go. And splashdown. The rest of our engines have fallen away and been disintegrated, but we have survived our first mission. And now all we have to do is hit recover vessel and we're good. So, let's see what happened here. We got EVA report from just above Kerbal's water. That's 8 science. EVA report from just above Kerbal's shores. 8 science. And recovery of vessel after suborbital flight. So, there we go. That's 31 science plus the one we sent back home. And we can now do some research. Where? This one. Yes. Okay, cool. So there we go. Research, 5 science. We now have extra parts. We can make different things. We have enough for at least one more of these. So we are going to, let's see, we have landing struts, mount parachute. These are all things that are used for landing later on. I do like my radial decouplers, and I do like my better engines, but we're going to start with the radial decouplers and the fins that will help keep us stable, and that will be what we do here. So now you have a basic idea. I'm going to be playing with the format of this series, so don't worry, I'm going to try to not make them drag on forever or anything. I'll try to edit them down as best as I can and figure out how I'm going to negotiate all of that mess. That should be very, very interesting times indeed. So, yeah, this has been Kerbal Decoy with his intro to Kerbal Space Program. It is rather fun and quite entertaining to watch. So, yeah, I hope you will join me for this really fun adventure into space! Space. I love space. Anyways, yeah, so, and I'll be around and doing this for a good little while, and I have no idea what our end goal is going to be here. I'm just going to... I stopped playing it because I was really addicted to it, and I thought it might be fun to make videos, so I am going to finish where I left off in my adventures in Kerbal Space Program and try to advance further for the entertainment of you all. And yeah, so I hope to see you then. Until then, have fun.